Patricia Langford breezed through Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, her designer carry-on trailing effortlessly behind her. She was no stranger to this route, Dallas to Washington, D.C., and always in first class. The luxury was her norm, priority boarding, complimentary champagne, and the subdued murmurs of high-flying professionals. It was her sanctuary of exclusivity. As she approached her assigned seat, her polished stride faltered. A black man, clad in a tailored navy suit, was already seated in the adjacent spot. His laptop was open, his focus intense. Patricia hesitated, her lips tightening, but she said nothing as she placed her tote with a touch more force than necessary before settling in beside him. Her discomfort was palpable. Daniel Stokes didn't acknowledge her. His fingers flew over his keyboard, his posture relaxed, exuding an air of authority. Patricia glanced around, expecting someone to intervene. First class wasn't supposed to be like this, she thought. Clearing her throat, Patricia leaned slightly toward him. "Excuse me," she said, her tone overly polite. "Are you sure you're in the right seat?" Without lifting his eyes, Daniel replied, "Yes." His concise response irritated her. She looked around again and caught the attention of Emily Jacobs, the flight attendant. Waving her over, Patricia forced a smile. "I think there's been a mix-up," Patricia said, gesturing toward Daniel. "I believe this gentleman is in the wrong seat." Emily consulted the passenger manifest. "Actually, Mr. Stokes is in his assigned seat. Your ticket is for 2A, and he's in 2B. Patricia's face froze for a moment. "Oh," she said with a strained laugh. "I just assumed, well, never mind." She turned toward the window, but her irritation simmered. Daniel continued working, unbothered. This silent indifference fueled Patricia's frustration. She wasn't accustomed to being ignored. Minutes later, she pressed the call button again. Emily returned, her professional demeanor unwavering. "Is there something I can help you with, ma'am?" Patricia lowered her voice. "I'd like to request a seat change." Emily blinked. "Is there an issue with the seat?" Patricia hesitated before gesturing subtly toward Daniel. "I just don't feel comfortable." Emily's smile faltered briefly. "I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am, but we're at full capacity today. There are no available seats in first class." Patricia's cheeks flushed. "Economy?" she repeated, her tone incredulous. "That won't do." "I'm afraid staying in your assigned seat is the only option," Emily said, her patience intact. Patricia forced a thin smile and nodded, but her resolve hardened. Minutes later, she pressed the call button again. Emily returned, her smile now strained. "Yes, ma'am." "I need to speak to the head crew member," Patricia demanded. "Or the pilot." A few passengers exchanged knowing glances. Across the aisle, a businessman muttered, "Here we go again." "The pilot is preparing for takeoff," Emily explained, her tone firm. "I'm the lead flight attendant, and I assure you this situation is under control." Patricia leaned closer, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "I don't feel safe." The atmosphere shifted. Emily stiffened, her eyes darting between Patricia and Daniel. Daniel, now closing his laptop, met Patricia's gaze for the first time. His expression was calm, unreadable. "Ma'am," Emily said, her voice steady, "are you saying you feel threatened?" "I'm not saying that," Patricia replied, her tone laced with implication. "I just don't feel comfortable." Passengers nearby murmured. A young woman discreetly raised her phone, pretending to text but clearly recording the interaction. Daniel remained silent, his hands resting on his closed laptop. The weight of Patricia's accusation hung in the air. The tension was undeniable, but Daniel's composed demeanor refused to give her the reaction she sought. It was Patricia who squirmed under his gaze, her certainty faltering for the first time. Heads turned toward Patricia, the cabin's attention shifting uncomfortably in her direction. She felt it, the tide was turning against her, but she wasn't ready to back down. "This is a simple request," she said, feigning politeness. I'm just asking to be accommodated. If I'm uncomfortable, I should have the right to move seats, shouldn't I? Emily's jaw tightened as she replied, "Ma'am, I've already checked. There are no open first-class seats available." Patricia pressed her lips together before saying, "And in coach?" Emily hesitated. "There are 2 open seats in economy." Patricia straightened, her tone resolute. "Perfect. He can take one of them." A ripple of murmur spread through the cabin. Daniel inhaled deeply, his fingers drumming once on his laptop before going still. He neither argued nor reacted, but he also wasn't moving. Emily blinked, her professionalism faltering for a moment as if confirming she had heard Patricia correctly. "Ma'am," she said, her voice firmer now, "just to clarify, you want me to move this passenger to economy because you don't want to sit next to him?" Patricia nodded, her back straightening. "Yes." Emily inhaled through her nose. "That won't be happening." Patricia's head snapped up, her tone sharp. "Excuse me." Folding her hands in front of her, Emily replied, her voice unwavering, "Mr. Stokes has a first-class ticket, just like you. He is in his assigned seat. I cannot, and will not, ask him to move." Patricia's face flushed as whispers swirled around her. Passengers were openly staring now, some shaking their heads, others smirking. The young woman with her phone continued recording, her lens angled discreetly but effectively. "This is ridiculous." Patricia hissed, her composure cracking. "I'm simply asking for the same courtesy anyone else would receive if they felt uncomfortable." Emily's voice remained steady. "You are asking me to remove a paying passenger from his assigned first-class seat and relocate him to economy for no valid reason. That is not an accommodation, that is discrimination." The cabin fell silent. Someone let out a low whistle. Daniel hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. He just watched Patricia, waiting. Emily squared her shoulders. "Ma'am, we are about to taxi. If you cannot remain seated and comply with flight crew instructions, I will have to ask you to deplane." Patricia's stomach dropped. "What?" "You have 2 options," Emily said. "Stay in your seat quietly, or deplane." "But Mr. Stokes is not moving." A smattering of applause broke out. Patricia felt heat rising to her cheeks. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. She opened her mouth to argue when Daniel, silent until now, reached into his jacket. The metallic gleam of an FBI badge caught the cabin lights. Gasps rippled through the passengers. The young woman with her phone zoomed in immediately. Daniel's voice was calm, measured. "Ma'am," he said, tilting his head slightly, "would you like to file an official complaint?" "I can take your statement right now." Patricia's breath hitched. She couldn't form words. The badge glinted, its presence unmistakable, a silent rebuttal to every word she had spoken. "You said you felt uncomfortable," Daniel continued, his tone polite but pointed. "That's a serious allegation on a federal flight. If I've done something inappropriate, I'd be happy to document it." Patricia's throat tightened. A man 2 rows ahead let out a chuckle. "Oh, this is priceless," he muttered. Passengers were no longer whispering, they were watching, some smirking, others openly recording. Emily stood nearby, arms crossed, her expression neutral but her eyes expectant. After what felt like an eternity, Patricia shook her head faintly. "No," she croaked. "No complaint." Daniel nodded once as if he had expected this. Slowly, he closed his badge and tucked it back into his jacket. Without another word, he reopened his laptop and resumed typing. For him, it was over. For Patricia, it was the beginning of her nightmare. The businessman across the aisle smirked, returning to his newspaper. The young woman with the phone continued typing furiously. Patricia sat stiffly, staring straight ahead, her breathing shallow and uneven. She could feel the weight of the stairs, the judgment radiating from every corner of the cabin. Emily returned, her tone low but firm. "Ma'am, I need to confirm you can remain on this flight without further disruption." Patricia forced her lips into a tight smile. I'm fine. Emily studied her for a moment before nodding. I'm holding you to that. As Emily walked away, a sharp chime sounded overhead. Patricia froze. The weight of her actions hung heavy in the air. The flight hadn't even taken off, and she had already lost. Patricia looked up just as the young woman with the phone smirked and tapped twice on her screen. Patricia's stomach clenched. She recognized that expression, the same one her grandchildren wore when they shared something online they knew would spread like wildfire. Her fingers tightened around the armrest as she turned slightly, her heart pounding. She stole a glance at the woman's screen and felt her chest constrict. The video was already uploaded. The caption was simple, devastating: racist woman tries to remove black man from first class, then learns he's FBI. It felt like the air had been knocked out of her lungs. The flight wasn't even airborne, and already her life was spiraling out of control. If it was online, there was no stopping what came next. Her phone vibrated in her purse, once, twice, 3 times. Patricia's chest tightened, dread clawing at her. She didn't want to look. She didn't want to know. But her hands betrayed her, trembling as they fished her phone out. Her stomach plummeted. Messages flooded her screen, texts from acquaintances, family, even people she hadn't spoken to in months. Patricia, is this you? Just saw the video. Tell me this isn't real. Oh my God, what did you do? Her hands shook as she swiped open her browser. Twitter loaded instantly. Her name was already trending. The video had been uploaded less than 5 minutes ago, but it had already amassed over 20,000 views. Comments poured in faster than she could read. Karma is real. This lady really thought she could get away with it. Hope she enjoys the roasting she's about to get. Her breath hitched. Her world wasn't just collapsing, it was ablaze. She clung to hope. Maybe no one would care. Maybe it wouldn't spread. Her phone buzzed violently again. This time, she declined the call. Her sister. She wasn't ready for that conversation, not now, not ever. Then, the intercom crackled to life. Ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning our descent into Washington, D.C. The local time is 5:43 p.m. Please ensure your seatbelts are fastened as we prepare for landing. Patricia's heart sank. Landing. She had been so consumed by the chaos on the plane that she had forgotten what awaited her on the ground. She refreshed the video one last time. 97,000 views. Her name was trending. Her hands trembled as she stuffed her phone back into her purse. She tried to convince herself that it wasn't as bad as it seemed. But the moment she stepped off the plane, she realized the storm was just beginning. At Reagan National Airport, near baggage claim, she spotted them, a small but growing cluster of reporters. A woman in a navy blazer read from her phone while a cameraman filmed her. The now viral video shows an unidentified woman attempting to have an FBI agent removed from first class, citing discomfort. The clip has gained over 1 million views in just a few hours. Patricia froze. 1 million views. Her breath quickened. She spun around, hoping to avoid recognition, but it was too late. One of the reporters locked eyes with her, her face lighting up. Wait, that's her. Panic surged through Patricia as she bolted toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly against the tile. Her phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, texts, missed calls, alerts. She couldn't outrun it. Shoving past a group of travelers, she reached the curb and flagged a taxi. Go, she snapped at the driver, practically throwing herself into the back seat. The driver raised an eyebrow but pulled away without a word. Patricia pressed her hands to her temples, her eyes squeezed shut. 1 million views. Her entire life, her carefully curated image, her spotless reputation, destroyed in an afternoon. Her phone buzzed again, this time with an unfamiliar number. Her heart hammered. Against her better judgment, she answered. Hello. A clipped voice responded. Miss Langford, this is James Rollins, chair of the Marston Foundation. Patricia's throat tightened. She had been on the board for years. The organization prided itself on inclusivity and progressive values. She already knew why he was calling. "We're going to need you to step down," Rollins said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Patricia opened her mouth to protest. "James, This is not up for discussion," he interrupted. "The board has already agreed. We'll issue a public statement by morning. We expect your resignation by then." The line went dead. Patricia lowered the phone, her hand trembling. Her career was over. Her reputation was in tatters. And the worst part? No one cared about her side of the story. They had seen the video. And the video was enough. Meanwhile, Daniel Stokes hadn't spared her a second thought. By now, he was probably in a meeting, completely unbothered. For him, it had been just another Tuesday.